What's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nate, and welcome back to my channel. I'm going to be continuing to give you my top 10 quarterbacks in leagues around the nation. Today, I'm going to be giving you my top 10 quarterbacks in the SEC. So the SEC is returning a lot of quarterback production. A couple guys you see here. Also some new faces that jumped in the middle of the season last year. A couple guys also transferring into the conference. Lots of guys returning. The SEC is a very interesting group of quarterbacks and definitely up there for one of the best group of quarterbacks in the entire nation. Some guys got to replace some pretty darn good starters, and other guys I think can improve. The number 10 spot was really, really difficult for me. It was between Felipe Franks and Jarrett Guarantano. But at number 10, I went with Jarrett Guarantano of Tennessee. I just think Felipe Franks coming off injury and not playing a lot is going to affect him, especially since he has to adapt to a new system. While Jarrett Guarantano gets to stay in his old system, however, he is losing a lot of production at the receiving positions. Jawan Jennings is leaving. His tight end is also leaving as well. But I think Jarrett Guarantano has a lot of untapped potential that we just haven't seen yet. We look at his stats last year, 2,158 passing yards with 16 passing touchdowns and 8 interceptions, 59% completion percentage with a 144.0 passer rating, 54 total rushing yards last year as well. So not a big runner, but Jarrett Guarantano, as I just said, definitely I think has a lot of untapped potential that we just haven't seen yet. And while he is losing a lot of production at the receiving positions, I think he definitely can form chemistry with the young guys that are going to be coming in here. At the Tennessee program. The reason Jarrett Guarantano is above Felipe Franks is I think he has the potential to be a top 5 quarterback in the SEC. I just got to kind of see how he plays and all that, but to me, Jarrett Guarantano is number 10 on this list. We move on to number 9, and that is Terry Wilson of Kentucky. He got hurt last year, played a little bit of the season, but ended up hurt last year. So we're going to look at this 2018 stats. And if you remember 2018, Kentucky was a pretty good team. They finished ranked in the AP poll, and I even think won their bowl game against Penn State, who was also a pretty good Penn State team. So we'll look at this 2018 stats. 1,889 passing yards with 11 passing touchdowns and 8 interceptions, 67% completion percentage with a 134.0 passer rating. He also could run the football as well, 547 rushing yards with 4 rushing touchdowns. Now, he is losing Lynn Bowden's production at wide receiver, but his running back smoke is going to be there to pair with Terry Wilson's running ability. I just think he's got to get better from a passing standpoint. I think he's slightly better than Jarrett Guarantano just because I just feel like he has more talent than Jarrett Guarantano, especially running the football. But he's got to get better at passing. He's got to make some smarter throws. Maybe he can throw for more touchdowns, cut back on those interception numbers. I expect him to have roughly the same completion percentage and passer rating, but definitely throw for more yards, more touchdowns, and fewer interceptions in 2020. And that's my prediction for Terry Wilson of Kentucky. We move on to number 8, and that is Rhys Plumlee of Ole Miss. He really impressed me last year. We look at what he did in 2019. Keep in mind he was splitting time with Matt Corral at quarterback, and his throwing numbers are not that impressive. Only 910 passing yards with 4 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. Not great numbers. 53% completion percentage with only a 108.4 passer rating. That's not that great of stats, especially for a guy who played a lot of the season along with Matt Corral. But it is his rushing numbers that impresses all of us. 1,023 rushing yards with 12 rushing touchdowns from a quarterback position. That is absolutely insane. That is almost unheard of. Rhys Plumlee, in my opinion, is going to end up being the starter this year, and I expect him to improve on these passing numbers. But if he can keep up these rushing stats, Ole Miss is going to be a very dangerous team, especially since Lane Kiffin is going to be coming in a head coach. There's a lot to love about Ole Miss this year, and Rhys Plumlee is going to be a big factor for this Ole Miss offense. He does get Elijah Moore back as well, one of the more underrated wide receivers in all of college football, and I think Elijah Moore is going to be a reason why Rhys Plumlee can throw for 1,000+ yards this year, maybe even 2,000+ yards if he can get his passing attack going. We'll move on to number 7. That is Myles Brennan of LSU. So Myles Brennan is going to have to replace Joe Burrow somehow. I don't think he's going to do it to the fullest extent, but because replacing Joe Burrow is a big task. Heisman Trophy winner, national champion, 15-0 LSU Tiger. He was absolutely insane. Now, while I don't think Myles Brennan's going to live up to Joe Burrow's legacy, I do think he's still going to be pretty good. We'll look at his career stats here. 600 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 60% completion percentage with a 138.1 passer rating, and only 35 rush yards for his career, but hasn't played a ton in an LSU uniform, but he is expected to take the reins this year for the LSU Tigers. I am very, very, very excited to watch what Myles Brennan does this year. I'm thinking that while he is losing Justin Jefferson, Thaddeus Moss, he still does have Jamar Chase there, and Jamar Chase, one of the best wide receivers in all of college football. So Myles Brennan definitely does have potential, in my opinion, in order to get up there. Maybe not as good as Joe Burrow, but Myles Brennan definitely does have lots of great potential. But I just got to see how he plays in the starting role and why he's at number 7. Move on to number 6, and that is going to be Kellen Mond of Texas A&M. So I think a lot of you guys might be surprised that I have Kellen Mond this low, especially since a lot of people are really high on him. He's supposed to be a top 5 quarterback in the draft. But I think he could be a top 3 quarterback in the SEC. But he's losing a lot of production at the wide receiver position. We'll look at this 2019 stats. 2,897 passing yards, with 20 passing touchdowns and 9 interceptions, a 62% completion percentage with a 131.1 passer rating, 501 rushing yards with 8 rushing touchdowns. So still has a lot of good numbers here. But the thing that worries me about Kellen Mond is, again, he's losing a lot of production at that wide receiver position. And I think we've seen Kellen Mond up to his fullest last year. Now, a lot of people might not agree with me there, but I do think we saw Kellen Mond's best career season last year. Now, coming in this year, I don't think he's going to be able to surpass 3,000 passing yards like a lot of people think he's going to. I think the 500 rushing yards will stay there as well, but he's losing a lot of production at the wide receiver position, and while Texas A&M is overall expected to be a surprise team, I'm not that high on Texas A&M, and I don't think Kellen Mond is going to have a career season this year, and that's why he is at number 6. Number 5 is going to be Bo Nix of Auburn. So the freshman impressed quite a few people last year. 2,542 passing yards with 16 passing touchdowns and 6 interceptions. 58% completion percentage with a 125.0 passer rating. Overall, 313 rushing yards with 7 rushing touchdowns as well. One of the best young quarterbacks in the entire nation. He also has a good young wide receiver in Seth Williams. Now Jatavius Whitlow, I have heard, probably not going to be coming back, so DJ Williams is going to be his running back, and he can catch balls out of the backfield as well. But I really like Bo Nix as a quarterback. I definitely think he can only improve on what he did in 2019. This is a very good baseline for him. I think a goal for him would be 2,500 passing yards with maybe 18 touchdowns and 5 interceptions only. I think that would be really good for Bo Nix. Definitely think he's going to get that completion percentage up and that passer rating up. And he is just returning Seth Williams. He'll also have him in 2021. So Bo Nix, in my opinion, is going to show out this year for this Auburn team. We move on to number 4, and that is Mac Jones. So earlier when I put together this list, I had Mac Jones down at number 5, number 6. But then I remembered who he had at wide receiver. He has Jalen Waddle at wide receiver. He also has one of the best wide receivers in all of college football in Devontae Smith, and a pretty darn good running back in Najee Harris as well. So Mac Jones is going to stay up here at number 4. Came in for Tua late in the season, and well, look at what he did overall last year. 1,503 passing yards with 14 passing touchdowns and 3 interceptions. Overall, 69% completion percentage with a 186.8 passer rating. That is crazy. 36 rushing yards with a rushing touchdown last year as well. Now is losing guys like Jerry Jeudy and Henry Ruggs, but as I just said, still has Jalen Waddle, still has Devontae Smith, still has Najee Harris. So I expect Mac Jones, maybe – I don't think he has the talent that Tua does, but Mac Jones, you could throw in Bryce Young here as well. But I think the reason that the Alabama quarterback is going to be really good next year is because of the weapons they have around them. Now, I'm not saying Mac Jones is bad. I think Mac Jones is pretty good. I just don't think he's as good as Tua, and why he's this high on this list is because of all the weapons that Mac Jones has around him. We're going to move on to number 3 now, and that is going to be Kyle Trask of Florida. 2,941 passing yards last year, 25 passing touchdowns with 7 interceptions, overall 69% completion percentage, 156.1 passer rating, and a total of 4 rushing touchdowns last year for Kyle Trask as well. Since Felipe Franks got hurt last year, Kyle Trask came in and has played absolutely phenomenal, and last year was a better season than he had in 2018. I just read you his numbers there. Almost 3,000 passing yards for Kyle Trask, and I think he could do that again in 2019. Florida is going to have a very good offensive line. Florida is going to have a great defense that Kyle Trask should be able to score a lot of points without worrying how to give up a lot of points. Lots of good weapons out there at wide receiver as well, one of the best tight ends in college football in Kyle Pitts. So Kyle Trask definitely has guys around him that can really make a difference for him. So the reason Kyle Trask is at number 3 is I just think the 2 guys ahead of him are going to have better statistical seasons. So while Kyle Trask, I think, is the best talented quarterback in the SEC, stat-wise and just overall, I think he's going to be number 3 in the SEC. So the number 2 quarterback in the SEC is going to be KJ Costello of Mississippi State. He did get hurt last year, and Davis Mills is taking over for Stanford. So KJ Costello ended up transferring over to Mississippi State. He's going to be joining Mike Leach over there when we look at what he did last year. 3,540 passing yards, 29 passing touchdowns, and 11 interceptions with 65% completion percentage and a 155.0 passer rating. Again, joining Mike Leach in this air raid offense. So KJ Costello could easily throw for 3,000, maybe even 4,000 yards next year. It could be that. Now Mississippi State does have Kylan Hill in the backfield, but doesn't sound like he's going to play unless Mississippi State ends up changing some things. So KJ Costello is going to have to rely on wide receivers. Doesn't have that great of talent at wide receiver, but this air raid offense that Mike Leach is going to be putting in is definitely something that you got to watch out for here in the SEC. It was very close for me between KJ Costello and the quarterback you're going to see at number 1, which I think you all know the quarterback who's at number 1 by now. And it is Jamie Newman, so let me just get something right out of the way. The number 1 quarterback in the SEC is Jamie Newman of Georgia, and I think a lot of people down in the comments are going to sound off and say, well, how could he be number 1? He doesn't play that good against good competition. And I have said this before, Jamie Newman did not have the talent at Wake Forest that he's going to have over here at Georgia, and he is being coached with by far a better coach in Kirby Smart. Kirby Smart system with Kirby Smart's players. I think Jamie Newman is going to be the best quarterback in the SEC this year. We look at what he did last year as a quarterback for Wake Forest, 2,868 passing yards with 26 passing touchdowns and 11 interceptions, 61% completion percentage with a 145.4 passer rating. Overall had 574 rushing yards with 6 rushing touchdowns as well. I think Jamie Newman had a really, really good season last year, but I think he's going to have an even better one here at Georgia. While I don't think he's going to throw for as many yards as KJ Costello is, I do think he's overall just the more talented player than KJ Costello is. I really loved watching Jamie Newman over there at Wake Forest, and I can't imagine what he's going to be able to do with better wide receivers here over at Georgia. Jamie Newman, for me, is my top quarterback in the SEC. You can say anything you want down in the comment section down below, but nothing here is going to change my mind. As I said, it was close between KJ Costello and Jamie Newman, but I had to go with Jamie Newman. He's on the Georgia team, coached by Kirby Smart, got lots of great talent around him, and already had good stats with kind of talent around him at Wake Forest last year. I expect Jamie Newman to only improve in 2020, and he is my top quarterback in the SEC. All right, that's going to do it for my top 10 quarterbacks in the SEC for the 2020 college football season. If you guys enjoyed, please do leave a like. Also, consider subscribing if you are brand new to the channel or just enjoy my content and turn on that notification bell to join Tailgate Nation. And if you haven't done so already, please do leave a comment down below. I would love to hear your thoughts on the quarterback group in the SEC this year. And as always, until next time, remember to play hard, but tailgate harder, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Goodbye.